Like, look at this. This is peak goofy silly. The runaway Komugi. Welcome back to another wonderful review of Wonderful Precure. And we start off right where we left off from the last episode, catching up with a runaway Komugi, and it's immediately comical. That's one thing I was kind of surprised that we started off with in this episode, but I'm not against, is the immediate tone change, this like comical energy that we keep. And I think this is something that stays for the entire episode that I personally like, again, as somebody who doesn't love a lot of like fighting episodes. Being able to keep things very lighthearted but then make them serious where they need to be has very nice balance, and it also keeps the viewer from being overly anxious. So I like the fact that in this scene and then several going on, Komugi is very goofy silly about having left the episode on such a depressing note prior to this. And we have, I mean, they soften it with a little bit where she just keeps banging her head on there, but she's still having to deal with the 1001 emotions that she has and being very upset that she and Iroha had this fight. Now, this episode doesn't do quite what I expected it to do, but I do love what they decided to do anyways. We get a tiny bit of what I was kind of alluding to, where Komugi has now run into someone else going through a similar conflict, human and dog, and seeing them resolve their differences and kind of put her in this mood of maybe I should just resolve things. Maybe things should just go back to the way they were. And we don't have too much of Komugi being upset at Iroha or just really like not taking the blame for what's going on, which I think is a big key and one of the reasons why it's been a lot easier for me to kind of breathe easy, because I was curious for a character like Komugi how sort of selfish she was going to be. And especially with the archetype that they put her with, she's not very selfish. She's pretty selfless at the end of the day. She just is a dog with a dog mentality. Honestly, at this point, it's probably gonna have more Yuki being selfish now that I think about it, since she is a cat and they're known to be stereotypically more selfish. But for the most part, Komugi is like really kind of getting what's going down and just not quite being able to connect the pieces. And it's more of a lack of information than it is her own hubris. And then I knew beforehand, again, going into this episode, the summary did tell us that she was going to resolve a lot of her issues by talking to Satoru, so I was not super surprised to see Satoru ended up being our little mediator of the episode. I give it to him. They did fix a little bit of what I was concerned about in the last episode. I was like, this guy's gonna go look for the garu when he's just a normal schmormal human. But he has binoculars, so I guess he's like, you know, keeping his distance looking around. But he does find Komugi and talks to her. I do love that he just finds her casually as a human. And this is what I do like, that they decided to go with Satoru rather than a third party that I had thought they might be doing. It's nice that it's Satoru because we really, like, despite Satoru and Komugi being in the same room for so many episodes, we have not really seen them interact too much one-on-one. And again, I was like a little bit nervous if that interaction between them was going to be bad. Or like maybe Komugi not like Satoru because he steals time away from her and Iroha and like hanging out. Not the case. She gets along with him pretty fine. And it as a show that is about friendship, it's nice to have the interaction between members, and this feels very natural. Like, it's not like an episode where it's like Komugi and Satoru will now hang out. It like we didn't see it necessarily coming unless you read the summaries. So very nice way to transition the two of them interacting and kind of working through this problem. And it's good writing. Good writing, in my opinion. Back at the Inukai residence, they realize that Komugi is missing and ultimately decide to go try to figure out where she went, being like, how did she get out of the house? She's a dog. Which I guess the last episode, she must have like snuck in a human form at one point to get out. But I also put this screenshot in here because I really like how they decorated their bathroom. Like, pop off with decorating the most innate parts of your house. They've got cute wallpaper. They've got the little hearts on the toilet cleaner, and then of course the seat. Stop. This little toilet cover is really cute. I do love the goofy, silly imagery we have of escapee Komugi. They, again, so much of these episodes has just had a lot of memeable moments. Like, look at this. This is peak goofy silly. The runaway Komugi. I will say it was very funny to watch the transition from Iroha talking to her parents to Iroha summoning Meimei, because they didn't do a great job at showcasing that we moved to a different location. So I was like, is she talking to her parents and just summoning Meimei in the middle? But she did, I assume it went to her room and summoned Meimei. And we get to see what I would assume was the way Meimei was ultimately going to react to Cure Wonderful, being that, oh, I must be super happy because the first cure that I get, the savior of the Nico Garden, has appeared, but also Komugi thus far has been less than ideal for a stereotypical savior. So Meimei goes off being like, Komugi is not a good cure, I have no faith in her. Meimei, please. We also shoehorn in Meimei this episode. I know a couple of episodes hasn't had a lot of Meimei time. I've seen people complain about not having enough Meimei. So don't worry, guys. They supplied us a Meimei moment. And then, of course, reliable Satoru and modern technology for the win here calls Iroha and informs her that, hey girl, hey, I have Komugi. We're good. I found her. And this is what I mean by, like, going from goofy silliness to having, like, the proper tonal shift, where Iroha's like, oh, we're still fighting. Things are still sore. I'm glad that Komugi's safe, but, like, I mean, she may have disappeared and I was very nervous about it, but also, we're still in the middle of a fight, and I've got feelings about it, and I was worried about her and everything. So I personally like the tonal shift. I don't think it's going to be for everybody, but I think this is where the show has a good, like, this is where we're going to be goofy silly, but we're going to transition to things are serious. I also think it's better for kids. Again, we keep the first half of this episode a little goofy silly despite having, like, the lesson still being kind of thrown in there. And then move into this more serious moment for the second half. We also finally have Komugi translate Daifuku. Like, we've known for a while that Komugi can translate to animals and understands what's going on. But I was like, when are we gonna have Komugi just, like, translate what Daifuku's thinking? I also completely forgot that, like, rabbits don't really make any noises. And one of the probably hardest things for the writers that they've made work in their favor is that rabbits are probably the hardest animal to have, like, in a series that's supposed to have, like, opinions, thoughts, and feelings. Because, like, a dog and a cat are incredibly expressive, and then they can make noises and everything, as we've seen from both Komugi in dog form and Yugi. But rabbits don't talk. This isn't Watership Down. The rabbit is not going to open its mouth and start, like, you know, monologuing. But it is very goofy silly just to see Daifuku's nose bob up and down and Komugi being like, he is writing a dissertation right now. Let me tell you what profound things Daifuku is saying right now. Also, I thought it was funny that Komugi tried to eat the grass? I guess it's grass? I know very little about real rabbits, as you are learning today. It's also cute, again, where Satoru is meant to be kind of this more mature, like emotionally mature character compared to everybody else, kind of put together. I think he also kind of speaks in an old-timey way, very formal and polite. It's nice to see him be a dingus. It's nice to see him be a kid. And he's like, oh, you can talk to Daifuku. Daifuku can say things to me. Like, this is really endearing. This is so cute. This is precious. And then you just, you know, get to see him, like, nerd out. And then the Komugi also is so, like, man, Daifuku is saying all these intelligent, amazing things. Like, respect to Daifuku. I was like, the level of, respect that Komugi has for Daifuku is probably the level of respect that Komugi should have for Meimei. And then, back on the topic of just having dogs and cats be animals that are so much easier to show expression and whatnot, especially with this being a moment of a good example of why they chose a papillon dog, is Komugi's, like, hair, ear, floppy things. Flop down here, and you can look at this and be like, Komugi is sad. Like, much harder to have Daifuku doing something like that and portraying those emotions. But we really get it out of Komugi, and Komugi really reflecting on herself and what her actions are, and also being able to voice that I don't understand why I didn't use the friendly tag. And she pointed out exactly what we were saying before, which was she managed to become a cure because she passionately wanted to save Iroha. And that was precisely what she did last episode. I passionately wanted to save Iroha, but it didn't work. So what's the deal? What's the issue? Which I'm glad they just pointed it out. I'm glad they said that up front. Like, it makes so much sense that Komugi is confused. And then, of course, we split away and have a little Mayu moment, because, again, we're including all our characters. We're keeping there. We're adding to them. We're also including the plotline that we had before with the leash, where Mayu is like, I have now created something to give to Iroha, even though I have no idea what the conflict is between Komugi and Iroha, completely unaware of it. But now I have the solution in my hands, and I will now go deliver it. And there's this scene right here. Let me tell you. I feel very attacked. I feel very seen, but also very attacked with Mayu. Like, I don't... Mayu's sitting there being like, I did the thing. I made the creation. And then her mom being like, well, go give it to Iroha. And she's like, okay. Okay, hold up. Hold up. I did not plan to, you know, do the next step. That was not what... I was in creative mode. Let me tell you, as an artist, I get in creative mode. And then when they're like, now go give it to the person, I'm like, oh god, communication. Interaction. Why? And her being like, hey Yuki, you wanna, you know, come moral support? And Yuki's like, go. I say that with my cat in my lap right this minute. Whenever I have to leave the house, I'm like, you should come with me, and she just gives me the stare. So, this seems a little too real. This is hitting a little too much home. Does not help that also me and Mayu are brunette buddies. Like, I don't need myself to be in this show. I put my hair in a side ponytail very often. I don't need her to be me. I don't need her to be me. I love you, Mayu, but at the same time, I need you to stop being me. I don't need to be in this show. Also, I thought this was funny. Like, we're just going back and forth, but I think it's so funny that Satoru is here, like, with a whole handkerchief being like, there, and Komugi is pouring her heart out. She's like, I don't understand why things don't work for me. I'm a good dog. This is a funny moment. I think I'm gonna make this the thumbnail. And then back to Mayu. Back to Mayu being a little unapologetically me. You have Iroha doing the thing that kids do, and adults as well will do this. Where she's like, oh, hey Mayu, thanks for the gift. I'm having trauma, right? I'm having a hard time. And Mayu's like, I have no idea what to say. I should say something. I know I need to be a good person and help my friend out. But I have no clue what to say. This whole sequence of her bobbing back and forth. Too relatable. I need Toei to knock it off. Stop that. Oh, and then also the bit where Iroha's like, wait, you have a lot of scratches on your arm. I think that was a good play. I think they do such a good job with this. I love the writing here. Where she's like, yeah, I have a lot of cat scratches, which same girl. I have so many. I would show them, but I also don't want to do anything that would look triggering. I've got many a cat scratch. we play a little bit. We have fun, me and my cat. But she also possesses claws that I probably should trim down a little bit because they've gotten very long and they get caught on everything. But yeah, a huge moment. And then Mayu's speech talking about Yuki and, like, you know, her being a feisty little cat, but also the love of her life. It's a little too relatable. This is... I wrote this. This is me. I wrote this scene. Spoiler. And then we, get to the meat of the episode, the Garu fight. Conveniently, this lion just happened to find a cave in the mountains. Like, good on you. I guess that makes sense. I assume they did that for, like, stabilization. Convenient for the lion. Oh, but we get to see Wolferum from Smile Precure has come back. We get to see what I assume is our main antagonist. This is either a general, but I think it might also just be the main antagonist. We now have our first little tinge of our big bad here in episode 7, which I think they've been doing. I think we've gotten like a little tease, because I think they did this last season with Horoguru Sky Precure, where we got a small tidbit of the villain, or the main villain talking, or the main quote-unquote main villain talking to one of the generals in the previous season. We get that here. We actually get to see him being evil. And so looking forward to seeing whatever this is supposed to spell in the future. You know, we gotta keep it going from last episode. We had the little like Satoru run. I see Komugi has now also done the like, I'm gonna run in place because I gotta go, I gotta help and run in place. Which is very cute. And of course Satoru expresses his concern, but Komugi's like, listen, I might be scared. Things weren't working for me before, but I'm a Precure. I gotta get in there. I gotta save the day. That's what I'm meant to do. She also throws in, and I think this is gonna be a Funky Monkey translation moment in the series. Komugi says, oh, by the way, Daifuku said that you're a real one. I believe the translation is more along the lines of like a true friend. I think this is just like the translators doing their best with the situation, because this is, it makes more sense being like a true friend. It's supposed to be a little bit deeper, maybe closer to like the concept of like a best friend. Real one is just like them trying to slangify it, because I don't think there's really a one-to-one translation for it. But in terms of her saying real one, it's meant to be like a little bit deeper. It's meant to be more on that whole team friendship, as we do with Precure. Satoru's very happy. I mean, he loves Daifuku unapologetically. So him knowing that Daifuku reciprocates those feelings it makes him happy. That's a happy boy right there. And then as we get into the battle, we are 0 for 2 on the friendly shield. Like, her shield is so whatever this episode. Like, it doesn't break the way, like, 9 out of 10 times a shield does in Precure. But, like, it goes so poorly that the lion smacks her down, and then she has to run out from under her shield. It's embarrassing. And then this fight gets very, like, intense, especially given the fact that our cures don't really, like, fight back. She's just kind of getting really, like, KO'd by this lion. Garu. But we then have Komugi enter the scene as Cure Wonderful. She's able to rationalize what she needed to rationalize. And I'm glad that she did this separately from Iroha. She also seems to kind of have gotten the message in a way that makes sense for her, that it's not simply that she does things for Iroha's sake and to protect Iroha. She's trying to pass along the message that she embodied from Iroha, which is we protect everyone. Like, Iroha fights for the sake of others, and that's what I want to carry on with Iroha, which I think is the perfect way to get her to get that message, because I think it was going to be a little bit tricky for her to sort of realize that she needs to care for others, but being like, she learned to care through others because she cared about Iroha, I think just makes more sense for Komugi. And the two are able to resolve their differences and be a bit stronger. And then very casually, as Wonderful is kind of like having this eureka moment, she just casually gets the Wonderful Tact, which I think works out better. And is very Komugi of her as well. We unfortunately see the return of the penguin power-up, which we've done this 2 episodes in a row. I think we should be good. We don't have to do it for the rest of the series. We don't need these ugly boots any longer. I say that, but they're gonna come up with a way worse power-up. Like, we peeked at the rabbit already. And then we just have the cute little ice skating sequence, which again, I feel like they really like the ice skating animation. And they very adorably move into being able to use the friendly tact, and we get our purification. I think it's cute that they get like the Komugi ears and the Komugi tail, but it's cute. They use that same kind of like gummy glow effect that they've been using for the transformation, so it just kind of fits. And I love that they put the garu in a purito. Like, that's like the perfect way to deal with the situation. That's the perfect conclusion in a series where we're trying to go for the anti-violence bit. Burritoing the enemy is good, and I can see that that would be an interesting way to use a finisher if it needed to be. Have a ribbon of destruction if it needed to be. We've had ribbon attacks before in the franchise. I'm also saying this because at the end of this episode, little spoiler, before I get to it, there is a teaser for the movie. And the thing about Precure movies is that in the show, we fight the enemies that we do. But in the movies, we usually fight a completely unique antagonist. And they could just sit there and give us another Gato Gato situation for the movie. But there's a strong potential that whatever we go up against in Wonderful Precure the movie is some kind of other antagonist that we can actually beat up. And maybe that's the whole conflict of the movie. The fact that our entire team has sat here and only ever, like, hugged our enemies to death. Now we have to actually, like, fight something. So that will be very interesting. They have so much potential with the movie. The only thing that we actually know about the movie at this point is that it's video game themed, or at least there's, like, a lot of video game iconography leading into it. Which we've done in other movies before, to some extent. And then they also mentioned that, like, not only are we going to see our main cast, but we're also going to see Daifuku and Satoru in it as we bring our friends along. I mean, it's coming out in September, so there are 1,001 theories we could have and what all that means. Overall, we purify our little lion Kiradine animal. Very small. I like his design. Also, we actually wrap it up with the Nico Garden in this episode, which I wonder where... I guess we're going to immediately go into the next episode, which was said to be the school episode. This is like the first one where we've really done the whole purification and send them back to the garden in the episode and not in the next episode. We also have Mei lying through his teeth here, where he's like, oh man, I never doubted Cure Wonderful for a second. So good, amazing cure. Thank God Komugi stepped out. Mei, we're just gonna lie. We're just gonna lie. Like, look at Satoru. I love these stills. Satoru has such a rough time in the full body still. We also get this really adorable outfit for Komugi as part of the leash, and she is like, it doesn't matter what the leash is as long as you're on the other end. Oh my god, so sweet, so beautiful. We close out this very nicely, and we move into the next arc of the story. So, easy peasy, wonderful episode. I really don't have any gripes with it. This show's going great so far. So much potential. And now we get to move a little bit more into the Mayuki scenarios for the next set of episodes. So I will see you there. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye!